In this example, we need to find the derivative of this function given as x squared times sine x, right? So we have given the function as the product of x squared and sine x, and we need to find what is the derivative of that. So let's try to differentiate this function by finding the derivative of f. But how do we find the derivative of this function? As you can notice here, what do we have here is given as the product of two functions. One is x squared and another is sine x. So if that is the case, then actually if we have the product of the function, we can always use the product rule, right? And how the product rule works? Do you remember what the product rule is? Okay, so how do we use that? What we do is, if we have the product of two functions, let's say x squared and then sine x, right? So in this case, so we first write down the x squared as it is, right? And then multiply that function by the derivative of this second function, which is given over here as sine x. We first do that, and then that's not only the thing, right? We then add, right, with the product of the derivative of the x squared times the second function as it is. So this is the product rule, right? So do you remember how the product rule works? If not, please revisit what the product rule means, right? So how do we work this one? So we leave the first function x squared as it is, multiply by the derivative of the second, so which is over here, right? Plus, and we write down this x squared, we write down the derivative of x squared multiply by the sine x as it is. So that's how we do, right? So that's what the product rule is. So actually we are done. If there were no further derivative or something like that, this is the product rule. That's how we use it. But on the other hand, there is still, you can see here, we have not figured out what is the derivative of the sine x. We have not figured out what is the derivative of x squared, right? We need to figure those out. So let's write that down then. So this is then equal to x squared, write down as it is, multiply by the derivative of the sine x. What is the derivative of the sine x? Cosine x, right? Okay, so then let's write that down. So it is cosine x plus what is the derivative of x squared? X squared is the power function, so we can use the power rule. So by using the power rule of the derivative of x squared will be, bring the power down, which is 2, write down the x as it is, subtract the power by 1, so 2 minus 1 will be 1, so 2x is the derivative of x squared, right? And then multiply by the other function as it is, so sine x we need to just write down as it is. And this is the derivative of this given function x squared times sine x. But if you want to further, let's say, combine or simplify, here I can see that I can take x out as a common factor. If I do that, x times cosine x is the remainder on the first term, plus 2 times sine x is the remainder on the second term, and then I can also write down the derivative in this way. So either you write down this as a derivative or this expression, both of these are the derivative of x squared times sine x. As you might have noticed, this is the major step. We need to be very careful applying the product rule, right? So again, I just want to remind you how the product rule works. Write down the first function as it is, multiply by the derivative of the second function, plus we find the derivative of x squared or the first function, multiply by the second function as it is. And once you apply that product rule correctly, then everything is, after that, whatever expression, whatever operation, we have to do it, right? And then done.